Picture this. It's Italy, 1962. You can literally smell the acrid stench of a burned-out clutch hanging in the air. Behind the wheel of a broken-down Ferrari sits a man who is absolutely not used to failure. Ferruccio Lamborghini. He's a brilliant, wildly wealthy industrialist, and he is fuming. He loves his Ferraris, right? But they just keep breaking on him. So he does what any self-respecting titan of industry would do. He drives straight to Maranello to demand a face-to-face meeting with the legendary Enzo Ferrari himself.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because this right here is the exact moment the automotive world fractures forever. Instead of, actually listening to his frustrated customer, Enzo Ferrari literally looks down his nose at him and delivers this absolutely devastating insult. He tells Ferruccio the problem isn't the car, it's the driver. He actually says, "You're a tractor maker. Go back to making tractors." It was just this single, monumental act of pure arrogance. But that spark of ego, it lit a fuse that would set off an explosion, completely reshaping the landscape of high-performance cars.
You see, calling Ferruccio just a tractor maker was wildly dismissive. The guy was a highly successful, exceptionally sharp engineer. He had built an absolute empire in post-war Italy, brilliantly turning bombed-out military hardware into tractors and heating systems. He knew machines inside and out. Sure, his wealth came from the dirt and grit of agriculture, but his true passion was pure, premium speed. This was a man who understood exactly how gears and engines were supposed to work together in perfect harmony.
So imagine Ferruccio's absolute fury as he travels back home from Maranello, Enzo's insult just echoing in his ears. But he doesn't just accept defeat. No way. He walks straight into his own garage, rolls up his sleeves, pops the hood of his beloved but broken Ferrari, and physically rips out the burned clutch. He wants to see exactly what is going wrong with this supposed masterpiece of Italian engineering.
Now, what's really interesting about what he finds is that he instantly recognizes the part. His jaw drops. This premium Ferrari part, it's the exact same commercial clutch fitted to his own agricultural tractors, sourced from the exact same supplier, probably costing Enzo a mere $10 to buy. Enzo Ferrari was charging him an astronomical premium for a part Ferruccio practically bought in bulk for his farm equipment. Talk about adding insult to injury.
The insult was one thing, but this mechanical hypocrisy, that was the final straw. Ferruccio's retaliation is incredibly swift and frankly, a little terrifying. Within months, he founds Automobili Lamborghini. His one and only mission is to build a grand touring car that is everything Ferrari is not: reliable, comfortable, and devastating on the road. He ruthlessly poaches Ferrari's absolute finest engineers. He brings in Gio de Bizzarini, the actual genius behind Ferrari's legendary 250 GTO engine, gives him a blank check, and issues one simple directive: build me a V12 that will publicly embarrass my former boss.
Let's look at how fast this all builds, because the timeline of his revenge is just staggering. The insult happens in 1962. By 1963, a mere year later, the Lamborghini 350 GT makes its triumphant debut at the Turin Motor Show. It is a direct, undeniable shot right across Ferrari's bow. It's this magnificent front-engine GT with a beautifully engineered V12 that critics immediately declare is vastly superior to anything rolling out of Maranello. Enzo definitely noticed, but Ferruccio, he was just getting warmed up.
So, the crucial point is that the true shockwave hit the automotive world just 3 years later. Forget the specs and the technical data for a second. We're talking about the exact moment the very definition of a high-performance vehicle fundamentally changed forever. Enter the Miura. Designed by the visionary Marcello Gondini, this was a machine that seriously seemed like it dropped right out of the future. It had this impossibly low profile. It placed the roaring V12 engine right behind the driver's head in a mid-engine layout, which completely shattered every conventional rule of automotive engineering for road cars at the time. It wasn't just a sports car, it was so beautiful and so incredibly fast that the press literally had to invent a completely new word for it: the supercar. And in that moment, the great Enzo Ferrari had absolutely nothing to match it. Ferrari was totally backed into a corner. Before this, Maranello was primarily obsessed with building pure, raw racing machines that just happened to have license plates slapped on them. But the Miura forced their hand. This brutal competitive pressure from the tractor maker dragged Ferrari kicking and screaming into a new era, forcing them to develop true, dedicated road supercars just to keep up. This intense rivalry birthed absolute legends like the Daytona, the 365 GT4 BB, and eventually the iconic Testarossa.
And this brilliantly illustrates the supreme irony of this entire feud. You have these two completely opposed philosophies driven by two massive Italian egos. Ferrari continued to bleed resources and passion into the dangerous, high-stakes world of Formula One racing, but Lamborghini? He stubbornly refused to put his cars on the track. He focused 100% of his company's energy into mastering the ultimate road car.
His reasoning for this was deeply personal and actually quite somber. He had watched the horrific toll of early motorsport. He saw the terrifying crashes, and he saw way too many brilliant young drivers lose their lives in the pursuit of a trophy. Ferruccio plainly stated, "I don't race because racing kills." He wanted his legacy to be about the pure joy and thrill of driving, not the tragedy of the circuit.
And that singular focus on road cars led to an absolute explosion of radical design. In 1974, Lamborghini unleashes the Countach. If you thought the Miura was beautiful, the Countach was a violent, angular spaceship. It was aggressive, it was utterly absurd, featuring those famous doors that swung straight up to the sky. It instantly became the ultimate fantasy, plastered as a poster on the bedroom wall of practically every teenager on Earth. At this point, Lamborghini was seemingly unstoppable. But as we know, even the fastest machines eventually hit a wall. In the mid-1970s, a sudden, brutal roadblock shattered Ferruccio's high-speed journey. The global oil crisis hit, instantly wiping out the demand for gas-guzzling supercars. At the exact same time, a massive, incredibly lucrative tractor contract with the Bolivian government was suddenly canceled. The dual pillars of his wealth collapsed simultaneously. His empire was literally crumbling under his feet. So 1974 wasn't just the year of the Countach's triumph, it ended up being the year of Ferruccio's defeat. Exhausted and facing massive financial strain, he made the agonizing decision to step away from the war he started. He sold all his shares in Automobili Lamborghini, walked away from the howling V12s, and quietly retired to a tranquil estate to make wine. Without its fiery founder at the helm, Lamborghini plunged into chaos. The brand endured decades of turbulent, frankly desperate ownership changes and bankruptcies. It was tossed from the Mimran brothers to the American executives at Chrysler, then sold to Indonesian investors, barely surviving, until it was finally rescued and stabilized by Audi in 1998. The contrast with his bitter rival during this time is really striking. While Lamborghini's company was fighting for its life, Enzo Ferrari maintained an iron grip on his. Enzo lived to the ripe old age of 90, passing away in 1988. He died having successfully built not just a legendary road car brand, but an absolutely untouchable racing empire, keeping the immense prestige of the prancing horse largely within his family's orbit until the very end. But of course, even Ferrari had to aggressively adapt to survive the modern world. Following Enzo's death, the company's corporate evolution rapidly accelerated. Fiat took a controlling interest, steering them through a massive merger into the automotive giant Stellantis, before Ferrari finally spun off into a highly successful public IPO in 2015, firmly cementing its place as an absolute juggernaut of modern finance.
Which brings us right to today. Just look at the staggering scale of these two titans now. They are arguably the most coveted luxury brands on Earth. Ferrari operates as an independent powerhouse with a market cap exceeding $50 billion, generating over $6 billion in annual revenue. And Lamborghini? Now thriving under the immense umbrella of the Volkswagen Group, they are consistently posting absolute record profits year after year. We're looking at two towering global empires, born entirely from the friction of a bruised ego and a $10 clutch. And it all began because one man told a tractor maker to stay in his lane.